Hello, everyone, and welcome to the prediction show with me, Stephanie Chase, here on Fightful. And look who we have with us today. It is our overlord, Sean Ross Sapp, who is joining me for All In. Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Ready to talk about AEW All In. It's a little weird not making the trip this year, but I'm excited for the show. I'm excited that because I always complain about how long AEW shows are, or not long, how many matches are on them, that it's getting
Yep.
started in the afternoon. I love afternoon wrestling.
Yeah, me too. It's just occurred to me that Dynamite is probably going to be going on live like very soon.
Yeah.
Very, very strange that that's happening right now. But yeah.
Got some Fightful Select news coming that I'm gonna get out before Dynamite because I feel like they would announce it.
Ooh.
If it gets announced, it'll probably be announced on Dynamite to move some tickets. So,
Ooh, what could that be? What could that be? Well, it is going to be a really fun show. I'm excited. I'm heading to London tomorrow night. So I get there on Friday for the media day and stuff. And there's like so much going on. It's a really fun time. But you are the best person to join me because I mean this is kind of the biggest show of the year for AEW. So
it is.
we needed you. We needed your expertise. This does kind of feel like a performance review / job review. I don't know how many people would invite their boss to sit in with them like that, but I'm wild like that.
Did you all ever have, like, my wife's a teacher. Did you all
Mhm.
ever have like where like the principal would sit in and watch the teacher do their job and all that stuff, or whatever
Yes.
you all call them there? That's what this is
Mhm.
here.
Yes, it so much feels like that. How do you feel being in the non-host role, like the more submissive role? The.
I very clever. I have long considered only doing that on shows. Like, and
Mhm.
so like sometimes on Fridays I'll join the top of the show and basically I'll just get queued up for news and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
that's ideally the role I would like to be in.
The last time I did a prediction show, I did it with the one and only Weird Keller, and I told him that me being the host and him being the guest, it felt like getting David Bowie and making him be your backing singer. So since you're the cool young guy, this is like getting Taylor Swift and making her be your backing singer.
Ooh. Ooh, I'll take that. I'll take that. And
Take
I love
that.
Wade. Wade has always
No,
been wonderful to me.
yeah, Wade is the best. He's an icon. Do you consider yourself Taylor Swift for men, or is that someone
I
else?
can't. I would love to listen. If I could get away with that, I would love it. I mean, I would say maybe less people would hate me then, but a lot of people like unreasonably hate Taylor Swift. That is
That's
accurate.
true.
Like,
Mhm.
she'll be shown for like 35 seconds total on a football game, and people will like lose their minds and pretend to be mad over it. So yeah, I'll take that. I'll accept it.
Well, before we get into the predictions, and guys, if you're watching, give us your predictions as well. Send in those super chats, humper chats, everything. And firstly, let's hear from our lovely sponsors at BetOnline.AG and Sean himself.
Whoa! You can bet on wrestling? Yeah, you can at BetOnline.AG. We've given you a bunch of underdog picks over at Fightful since we started to work with BetOnline.AG, but well before they were a partner, that's where we got our odds from for years. Whether it be major shows or your Continental Classics and other things like that, they always have a bunch of interesting odds for you over at BetOnline.AG. But it's not just that. Payouts in minutes, high credit card acceptance, a safe and secure environment, and they've been trusted for over 25 years. They got the earliest lines, the fastest payouts, and the ability to bet on wrestling. How cool is that? If you think you know so much about this, go put your money down. Go do it. Show the world. Please bet responsibly and only bet what you can. BetOnline.AG.
Thank you, BetOnline.AG. And you're going to have some of the betting lines for us, aren't you, Sean?
I am. I'm very excited about this. They have always provided our betting odds, so it's always good to see those. I know they're going to add some prop bets after Dynamite as well,
Nice.
but there's right now they have they have some pretty distinct odds on there, and I gotta say I agree with all of them. Get to those as we get to the
Ooh.
matches.
Well, you said earlier that sometimes these AEW shows are kind of long, a lot of matches. We've got 10 matches here on the list, including the pre-show. Are you expecting any more to be added after Dynamite?
Yeah, I think they'll end up with 11 or 12. That's what I'm anticipating. But I do think
Oh.
they're going to really load up the gauntlet. Like
Hmm.
I feel like, and I've mentioned this before, for years they looked for their match. Like they
Yeah.
needed a Royal Rumble or a War Games like with WCW. They found their match with the gauntlet. It is unique. It is different. You can really promote that and make it feel like something important. And I think they're going to do that at All In.
Do you have any predictions of what could be added?
For the show in general,
Yeah.
not probably something that we look at and go, that doesn't need to be on there.
No, never.
Well, I don't think they've officially announced Saraya doing an open challenge. If they haven't,
Uh-huh.
I think that her doing an open challenge would make sense. And I think we like if Jamie Hayter came back there to foil Saraya, I think that'd be kind of
Mhm.
cool. And it'd give Saraya another moment at Wembley, but give Jamie a big comeback as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if Soraya wants to issue an open challenge and no one steps up, maybe I'll jump down from the press box. We'll see.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go. So, I swore. I'm sorry.
That's
That's
okay.
a
Out of my
that's a red. That's a
Bet
red
Online
mark
is going to be
next to my name.
so mad. Bet Online
Oh.
is going to be seething.
Well, let's get started here with the pre-show. What a match announced for the pre-show, and we have Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway versus Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii. What do you think, Sean? Is this just going to be Stokely Hathaway getting the shit beat out of him for a couple of minutes?
Yeah, we got to see Stokely like eat a big tackle or a doctor bomb or something. Now, a
Hmm.
lot of people forget this guy has had over 50 matches. Like it's not like he's never wrestled before.
Yeah.
He's been in the ring, he's trained. He had wrestled as far back as 2014 when he was at the Performance Center. So there was like a gap of 4 years between his matches, but he was actively training at the Performance Center as well, like taking bumps, doing the training, doing the combines, all that stuff. So he has been in the
Hmm.
ring. He's very smart with ring psychology as well. I do think that Willow and Tomohiro Ishii are definitely going to win this match, though.
I thought that his Stokely's match with Hook was actually pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
for what it is, that kind of like manager getting involved match. Like, I thought that was pretty good. And he's so good at selling, being scared and being a coward and all those things. Like, it's definitely going to be really fun. I actually think that Stokely and Chris are going to win this. Just
Really?
because, yeah, just because of how the feud is going, I think this would be a good little win for them that doesn't really mean too much, and then build to like the final blow off match between Chris and Willow, where Willow can be victorious. So,
I think there is too much joy in watching Stokely suffer as a character
mm,
for them to pass on. But I do feel like they will have another big one-on-one match.
yeah. I mean, if Stokely takes the pin, then that's fair enough. As long as they don't pin Chris,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Okay, let's get on to the main card. Oh, where should we start? Do you want to start with this casino gauntlet match for a
Let's do it.
future
Let's do it.
AEW World Championship match? Like, who do you expect to see in here?
Who do I expect to see? Hangman, Okada. I could
Hangman.
Yeah, I think Hangman will be in there. I think they
Hmm.
really, really want to load this up with big, big names.
Hmm.
Now, they have been maybe intentionally vague in the guaranteed title shot thing. I
Yeah.
think they want you to assume that they could interrupt the main event, they could do it all out, anything like that. So I could see Hangman winning. Orange
Mm.
Cassidy's in it as well, and I think he'll be an important part of that match because he's great for those types of spots. It wouldn't surprise me to see like a Switchblade Jay White come back in there as well.
I was gonna ask any word on my favorite wrestler, Switchblade Jay White.
So I had heard that he was getting healthy and they had tentatively planned him for the show. But then I had
Mhm.
heard maybe he didn't have some explosiveness off his foot a couple weeks ago. But he was at, I want to say, TV last week to get checked up on and all that. So
That's
that's
good.
the thing. I think they could do a surprise thing. Like, I think that you could see just a name out of nowhere. And also, I think Ricochet will be in the match as well, because I
I
think
think
that,
Michael Oku too, like for
yeah,
the conditioning.
there you go. But I think we
Mhm,
could see those. Somebody mentions Grado. That would make a lot of sense as well.
mhm. Do you think that so you're saying like Hangman Okada, Jay White, and they're obviously like main AW wrestlers. And I think sometimes with these like multi-man matches, people think it's like a bad spot for like a main guy. Do you know what I mean? Be like, why is Okada in a multi-man match at all in? But do you think if they like load it up in that way, then it just makes the casino gauntlet like a bigger deal?
Yeah. So I know that Tony's big thing is if they give away something for free, he doesn't like to make people pay for it later. But they have
Hmm.
found such a success with this match that they're like, we can put this on the pay-per-view. I could
Yeah.
see this developing into their Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank, to where
Hmm.
eventually this is their like a pay-per-view type of match. And they say, okay, well, you got to have a minimum of 5 entrants, and then you can go for the win type of thing. That way,
Yes.
that way you don't make it look like, oh, well, you can pin them right away, if they do it on pay-per-view. But yes, I do think they want to establish this as this match is a big deal. It is important, and important people are in this match and want to win this match.
I would like to see on Dynamite some kind of video package that like really fully like explains this match to everyone.
Sure.
And like, what the winner gets and just how like it actually works. So like the way you see all these Royal Rumble packages every year and we're like,
Yep.
yes, we know how the Royal Rumble works, but this isn't as established. So I'd like to see them do something like that. To really like help cement it in people's minds, and then yeah, it could be their signature match.
Yeah, I'd love to see. I think Hangman's going to win too. I think that's the
i
way to
think
go.
I think so as well. Well, it depends on the main event winner, but I'd like to see him have a match in Chicago if Swerve keeps the championship. I'll say that because I'll be at that too, so I'm
Yeah.
greedy. I want to see it all. Let's go on to one that I'm very excited for, actually. Jack Perry versus Darby Allin. It's a coffin match for the TNT Championship. These guys have done a lot of wild shit to each other, including Jack being set on fire. I'm really into this match. Darby has made like the coffin match his signature match, but then again, we saw like Jack Perry do what I thought was an excellent one with Christian. I think it was last year's Revolution. Is Jack
Yeah.
Perry and Christian where he put him in the coffin? Like I absolutely love that. So yeah, I'm super excited for it. I think the winner, I'm going to go with Jack Perry because he's just, he made that snazzy custom TNT title himself. And I don't think it's time to take it off him yet. I think because he's kind of been locked in this elite storyline, he's yet to like properly establish himself as a TNT champion, like taking on challengers and doing that kind of thing. So I'm going to go for Jack Perry beating Darby Allin in a coffin. How about you, Sean?
So I'm going to give away a Fightful Select scoop for free here on this show. And I just published it, but for those of you watching, I'll say this. Sting had told people close to him all last weekend that he was headed to London. Don't know why.
Nice.
Don't know why. Don't know if it's meant to be on screen, visiting, anything like that. That could be interesting. But
Can I
yeah,
just
like,
say that I actually might know why? Because last year at All In, I walked past Sting and his son eating at this very nice looking bread restaurant. It had all this different kind of bread and stuff like that. And he was literally sat at the window with his son eating, and he looked so happy that I actually think he's just coming back to visit that restaurant again.
so that reminds, like, so I'd lived in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. Now I live in a
Hmm.
city called Lexington. It's one of the bigger cities in our area. But we get like tourism commercials for the smaller towns. And one of them
Hmm.
is Paris, Kentucky. And the whole commercial is like, we got the same name as that city in France. Also, here's a place you can get bread. And I'm like, what? That's all you got? But I will say this. when I went to Europe, the
Mm-hmm.
bread there is so much better than the bread that we have in America. It's not
Oh,
even
it is.
close. It's
It is.
it's like it was actually designed to be bread instead of
Mm-hmm.
just something else. Like the bread here is so lazy, and Gail Kim pointed it out. It's really bouncy because they put in a lot of preservatives and stuff. But there, they make and intend to sell their bread that day or the next day. That's just how it is. There's some respect put on the bread in Europe.
You know it. Sting knows it. The bread in Europe
Yes.
is the best. If you're coming to All In, make sure you get some bread. So Sting,
We are sorry to cut you off, but our other sponsor, Bread, will be very upset if we don't mention them. Bread, but
we're sponsored
yes,
by all bread, well, all European bread, not the American stuff.
yes.
Um, so I guess look, if Sting is going to be at Wembley, we can heavily speculate maybe he'll get involved in this match. So how did getting that news maybe change how you thought this would go down?
So I'm with you. I think that Jack Perry wins. It's just, man, it's a situation where if Sting is there for some reason, Darby's got to win. But I will say this. In our report on Fightful Select, we don't know if he'll be there on screen. Like, maybe he's just making an appearance, something like that. I think they should have a coffin, and it should be covered with a layer of glass when you open it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody goes through it, and then Darby does the coffin drop into it. But what I could see is Darby doing a coffin drop into the casket and then getting closed in it.
Right.
And I know that Jack Perry made that belt, but that belt kind of fits Jack Perry or Darby's character as well.
When you said glass coffin, is it weird that my first thought was that you were going to say that it would be like a Snow White situation and Sting would be have been asleep in there since his retirement match and Darby awakens him with a kiss?
That'd be great.
Kind of sad that's not where you were going with that, but like very good
That would
idea.
do numbers. That'd do numbers for us.
That would do big numbers.
Jack Perry is favored to win on BetOnline, so I am going with him ultimately. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Darby win if Sting is there.
Mm-hmm. I'm just happy that we might see Sting again because, gosh, I've missed him. I know it hasn't even been a year, but yeah, I've missed him. Okay, up next, let's get the women involved and go with Mercedes Moné with Camille versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, for the TBS Championship. Okay, so this one, I'm gonna go with Mercedes on this one just because I think that they want her to have a longer reign. She's got Camille with her, so there's a bit of an out. And I think this storyline has played out okay on TV, but there's been some kind of clunky spots and other stuff going on. But I just don't see Britt being able to like vanquish Mercedes yet. How about you, Sean?
BetOnline has Mercedes as a big favorite. I've got her as a favorite too. That's who I think is going to win this. I look at this and I'm like, all right, it's still a little too early in the Mercedes run to have her lose. Now, I know that Britt is a top star in that company, and I mean, her losing as soon as she gets back isn't ideal, but sometimes good wrestlers lose to good wrestlers, and I'm okay with that. And I know a lot of people, as well as myself, were looking at, well, Jamie Hayter and Britt versus Camille and Mercedes at All Out makes sense too. I don't think it's going to happen like that, but I mean, I would love for that to happen as well because it just makes a ton of sense.
I would love for that to happen. I think one thing I'd really like for All In is to see Jamie Hayter come back and in wherever she wants, but it would be very odd if she came back and like ignored Britt, like, in a different spot. It feels like she should do something with Britt. But I mean, maybe they don't want to, maybe they want to move on from that, but just for the story. I saw a comment here that I had to address from Snap Grapple Pop. Mercedes out for blood after that breakfast from Spoons. That was one of the most offensive things I've ever seen, Sean, was the breakfast that Mercedes Moné had. she had like 2 mushrooms, a hash brown, a tomato or something. Absolutely awful. It seems like, because have you had a Witherspoon's breakfast, John?
I feel like I have, but I mean, Will Ospreay even it's like he released a statement on behalf of the UK apologizing for the breakfast.
Yeah, someone had to. Yeah, a Witherspoon's is a great place for like a value for money breakfast. Now, I'm not saying this is good food, but you can get really good breakfast there, you know, eggs, sausage, bacon. Americans seem adverse to baked beans. Do you have a statement on that in behalf of your country?
I like baked beans. I come from the South, so I'm all in
Mhm.
on baked beans.
But it felt like Mercedes, like someone I know pointed this out because people were just like, how did she even order this? And it seems that she just picked things from the side menu because she got a side plate rather than a big plate. Just like thoroughly disappointing. Real heel move to share a photo of that and make it seem like that's what a Witherspoon's breakfast is like in the UK, I have to say. She's
It
probably
looked
still
bad.
suffering the effects of that. So
Yeah,
let's hope
she
she's
she
healthy.
mentioned she mentioned she brought her own food with her, which is common for
Mhm.
wrestlers, but like she brought her own food that way, you know, she was eating healthy on the trip.
Mm. Well, yeah, that was bad, but thanks to Will Ospreay for addressing that.
You you know what I liked about the UK? There's a couple of things. One, the chocolate's
Mhm.
better. The food is better
Chocolate
because
is better.
the snacks are better because they don't completely bog it down with sugar or salt or
Yeah.
something like that. When I ate the food, I was like, "Where's the taste?" Then I realized, oh, in the US we just put salt on everything.
Mhm.
But I like, especially, say I got one of these. In the UK, the lid comes off and stays right there, so it can be easily
Yes.
recycled. Because here's a little tip, guys. If you recycle both of these and you don't put the cap on, the cap will just go through the sorter and end up in a landfill. But
Mm.
if it stays attached, it'll get recycled as well.
That's a great friendly to the environment tip. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely better chocolate in the US. The only thing I would say is the US does more peanut butter based stuff, and I'm a big fan of peanut butter. I like
Yeah.
that. Let's move on. And what am I going to pick next? Let's have another one where we can do some speculation. We've got for the Trios Championship, the Patriarchy. That's Christian Cage, Kill Switch, Nick Wayne, Mother Wayne versus the Bang Bang Gang, Juice, Austin, and Colton, House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews versus a mystery team, the Wild Card winners, four-way London ladder match. Sean, what's a London ladder match?
Yeah, I have not a clue who the mystery team is going to be. I don't have a hint,
Mm.
an inkling, an idea. No idea.
Everyone's gonna ask you if it's gonna be, Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, I know, and I don't have any information on that either.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What about a UK team? I'm trying to think of, like, who they could do. I was gonna say, like, Subculture, but, like, they're so in TNA that that might be
Gri
weird.
Yeah, somebody with grizzled young vets. I know a lot of people have said, well, maybe Death Triangle.
Mhm.
Like, if hypothetically speaking, if Penta's deal is up and he's headed to WWE, I find it hard to believe that they would bring them in as a big positive, yay, surprise. I think that
Yes.
what they would do and what Toni probably should do is say, listen, I do have the right to extend your brother for like a year, but hey, you come over and put a couple teams over, we'll just call it square and everybody's good to go.
Mhm.
But I don't, I mean, I would love to see Death Triangle. I really would. But also, people have mentioned like the Hurt Business. Lashley,
Mm.
Shelton, MVP would be kind of cool. I think that would be fun.
I think that would be really fun. I'd love to see MVP on Dynamite, so much. It would feel like it would feel odd to see them wrestling as a trios like that, but I think it would be a cool surprise.
Yeah.
Um, I would like love to see like a spot for grizzled young veterans on the card like somewhere, but I don't know like who else they'd bring in. Who are you going for as the winner? Like, do you think we're gonna get a retaining or this mystery team?
I think the mystery team will end up winning. Yeah.
I've seen some people mention in the chat, like, so this match is happening on Collision, right? And like that's being taped. Do you feel like a taped show limits the surprise. Like you might want to, do like if it's Lashley, say, do it on a live show that's going to air live that it doesn't get out.
Yeah, somebody says since Collision is taped, it's not going to come as some crazy surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right.
Thanks, Will, for dampening our excitement there.
Yeah, that would kind of slip my mind. But the Hurt Business debuting on Collision would be a kind of cool way to promote the show as well.
For sure.
So, I'll go with that. I don't have any insight on that, but you know what? Somebody had a really, really good one right here. Grizzled Young Vets and Kip, because Kip Sabian, bringing them in after patriarchy is picked on him. I think that's a good shout too. I think that would be a good one.
That would be good, and that would kind of be fine for the whole tape situation because, I mean, we've seen Grizzled Young Veterans before, we know, so it's like a surprise, but it's not like a huge, like, Lashley surprise or something like that. That's more something they can get away with where it doesn't feel like wasting doing, like, a big surprise. I'm going to go for the wild card winners, whoever they are, as taking the belts. Okay, let's go next to... for the FTW Championship, last chance match, Chris Jericho versus Hook. For this one, I'm going to go with Hook. I think he's going to get his belt back. I can't imagine Taz like letting them just take it off his son for the rest of time. I feel like I don't have any excitement for this match, really. It feels like Hook has just been in a bad cycle for a while now, and he's back doing this FTW stuff. But yeah, I think he's gonna win, get his moment of finally getting his dad's belt back, and who knows what the future holds. How do you feel about this one, Sean?
I'll tell you what the future holds. Hopefully not this again. This has been going on since like February.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's really, really bad that this is still going on. Like, there was a moment when Hook, at the beginning of the year, when he like confronted Samoa Joe, and then they had like a good match, and then Joe like started mentoring him, and then he sucked into the vortex. You never know when it's going to happen, and still not out. It's wild. I was watching a lot of Dominic Mysterio videos this morning just because like I really like him, and it just like made me think of how differently I used to feel about like Hook and Dominic, and I just feel like with like Dominic's had like such an evolution, and it feels like whatever they throw at Dominic, he goes like full force into it, and just does like the best job he can, and he's got to experience and get experience in so many different ways. And Hook, for someone that like seemed like so promising, it just seems he's been stuck in the same things for like a long time, and the development, like the poor guy, I thought his promo on Dynamite was frankly terrible, like I'll say it, and like the development just like doesn't seem to be there, and he's definitely been surpassed by someone like a Dominic, who I know like when AEW started, Ray was asked about going there and like bringing Dominic, but he wanted Dominic to have the WWE run, and I mean I feel like he's made the right decision just looking at the trajectory of Hook.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with Hook being a silent guy. That was kind of what made him popular to begin with. Was he was a bit mysterious. So I think that's okay that he's like that. I like the FTW title. I like them having basically a hardcore title. It's just I think that with as many titles as they have, it's redundant. But I'm so beyond seeing Jericho in this spot. Like I don't need him to retire. I think he can be useful in a tag team or a trios or something like that, and add a little bit of name power to those things. But what I don't need are these segments every single week. I don't need a great amount of TV time taken up, and I don't need a 6 to 7 month story that I was ready and to be done with like 3 months in. But Hook's going to win this.
Yeah, I think the use of Jericho, which is probably like he wants to do this, is like pretty bad and not like the most effective use. Any prediction for what object item related to London that we could see in this match as we've seen in previous Jericho matches? My prediction is a lot of those mini London bus toys. So like they've got the wheels and everything and they're hard, like something like that.
Some bread with thumbtacks in it.
Oh, that would be good. That would be good. And a nice little snack for Sting afterwards as well.
Yes.
Okay, what have we got next? Okay, we haven't done the Young Bucks versus FTR versus the Acclaimed 3-way tag team match for the tag team championship. Gosh, I'm kind of down on this one. I'm feeling like a little bit over all three teams, to be honest. It felt like after Collision, it just felt like so inevitable that they were going to go to this 3-way match, and there's just nothing exciting about it for me. The tag division just feels really dead, really. I mean, dead at worst. Still, maybe being a little less pessimistic, but as for a winner, it depends for me if they're going to continue this like elite storyline, because if so, then I guess you should have the Young Bucks as champions. FTR, I can't see anything interesting there. The Acclaimed just feel like they've dropped really far. Like they still seem to get good live reactions, but the support for them just doesn't seem to be there. I'm just gonna stick with the Young Bucks. How about you?
I'm gonna stick with the Young Bucks, and instead of talking about this match that I'm sure will be great, I'm sure will be awesome. Acclaimed is over live, but I'm done seeing them. I would move on past them. I don't need to see them anymore. But I would push MXM and Outrunners immediately. Outrunners have something that is different. I would have a combo of the Blackpool Combat Club become a team and utilize them on TV consistently in that spot. I think they need to do that. And hopefully Mark Davis comes back soon and they can do Aussie Open, because Kyle Fletcher Kyle Fletcher is getting over as an individual performer, but he's also putting over a lot of people. So I think there are 3 or 4 good options there. And also I'd have Jericho move to the tag team division. And there are a lot of people that say, oh, that's a demotion. Well, it wasn't when Kenny Omega and Hangman Page did it, because that division was so stacked. You have to make it as stacked as possible. I see people saying, and sign grizzled young vets. Ideally, yes, but I know they were way far apart on money at one point.
Yeah. Omega and Hangman team was so great, and they had like a big storyline that was built into it too. If we saw more stories in the tag division as well, that would be really good. But yeah, I feel like what they're doing with MXM over on the non-Dynamite shows, it feels like maybe they'll be introduced on like the bigger stage soon.
Sorry, I cut out there. I think my internet dropped a little bit at the last moment.
I just said I could see MXM being a big part of the tag division soon, just with all the promotion they're doing. Okay, we got next. Timeless Toni Storm versus Mariah May for the AEW Women's World Championship. This has been one heck of a long-term story that they've been telling. You can go first, Sean. What's your feeling on this one?
So Mariah May is favored on BetOnline. I got her winning this too. This has been one of the best built things that AEW has seen through. I would say probably top 5, top 10 story, because they very clearly had this planned from the day they debuted Mariah May. I fully believe that they planned her debut, believing they would build this entire thing, get her over, and then have her win the title at All In this year. And that is very rare to see in wrestling these days. Somebody that hasn't even appeared on your show, and you clearly have the vision for them. I think that this was masterfully done, and I think it is Mariah's night.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mariah was absolutely brought in to play this role, or they created this role as soon as they knew they were signing Mariah. And one criticism you can make of AEW, they sign a ton of people, and sometimes they have a great couple of weeks and then they drop off a bit, or there's so much else going on. But they stuck with this one. They stuck with the Toni and Mariah storyline. I think given when this show is. They actually paced it really perfectly with the ending of the Owen tournament and everything that happened there. Just a really memorable moment in the history of AEW, in Mariah's turn on Toni. I think it's Mariah's night. Be interesting to see the crowd reception. Toni Storm
I know.
worked a ton in the UK before she ended up in WWE. But Mariah, actually from the UK, I used to work with her in Rev Pro. She's been around the scene a long time. So even if like a lot of the crowd don't know that because they don't watch indie wrestling or whatever, they at least know she is from the UK, and from like not far from Wembley. So I'd be interested to see if she actually gets a cheer, just like the hometown pop, and maybe like just the respect of what she's been able to do in AEW since coming in. But I think they're giving Mariah her moment here. I think she's taking the title.
Yeah, I think they establish her as an anchor of this division, and I mean, it's in good shape. You got Hikaru Shida, Britt Baker, Mercedes Moné. You've established Camille. You've got Toni. There's little issues regarding Soraya's contract that we'll see. You're getting Jamie Hayter back likely. Man, and it's still Thunder Rosa and Riho popping up here and there, and Mina Shirakawa has developed along the way as a character that people really like in AEW. They've done good, and that's before we even talk about like Willow, Chris, Deanna. Like this division is cooking right now.
Yeah, I think it's finally started clicking, the division, and it was never the fault of the talent, but it finally feels like there's a lot of like wheels moving in different places, so we're not just focused on one women's thing. It's in a good place right now, and I hope that continues. Up next, we have MJF versus Will Ospreay for the AEW American Championship, according to MJF.
Yeah.
This match, wow. I think this is going to get a tremendous amount of heat. I can't imagine what kind of entrance MJF is going to have. I was just watching that All In documentary where they were telling the women to bow, like the extras, to do his entrance, and Eddie Kingston was just laughing like so much. God knows what he's going to do here. I watched him, at Rev Pro the other week. I watched that on demand and saw what he was saying there. It's been, to me, like it's a really strange storyline because I think that MJF and Ospreay like have enough personal between them that they could have done, and especially if you see like the beatdown angle that MJF did on Kyle Fletcher, but then MJF went off on this I'm an American thing, but it's been quite odd because he's been doing it a lot like in America this whole time until tonight, where people cheer. And I just can't get my head around why he thought that was a good idea. I think there's a level of patriotism in America that over in the UK, that's not the same. Like people in the UK, if you're overly patriotic, it's probably a bad side about you. And like I even, I had an interview with Michael Oku where I was saying to him, like, when you knew you were going to wrestle him and he starts doing this gimmick, what did you think? And he was just kind of like, yeah, he just doesn't get how we feel about our country. So you just have to sit back and be like, yeah, sure, dude. Yeah. We're not really offended. So I will say, like, honestly, like I've really disliked all that stuff, but I do think they're going to have a really great match, and it's a good spot for Ospreay on the card, someone that a lot of people just thought a couple of months ago it was inevitable he was headlining the show. Like, no, they've found another direction to go for with him, and I think that's good. How about you, Sean?
So Will Ospreay is heavily favored to win this match. I've got him winning as well. I look at the MJF stuff as like sort of tongue-in-cheek delusional. Like he believes he is this, and like his character thinks that he's doing this and it's the cool thing, but it hasn't quite hit in that sense from where you had mentioned he's doing it in America. That's the big thing, but it's all built to get his reaction at All In. So they've compromised a bit of TV time to do that.
He was gonna the other thing that kind of gets me is like Ospreay was gonna be heavily cheered in at All In, like no matter what. It's not as if he was going against someone where it was kind of, like borderline. Like for example, even though everyone loves him, like it's not so 50-50 like with Swerve and Danielson. Like it's not, you can't just say, yeah, everyone's gonna boo Swerve. But I think it was more definite when you put MJF against Ospreay, with it being Wembley, that Ospreay was going to get cheered. You know what I mean? So that kind of adds to my thought of like, why are they doing this?
Yeah, I was surprised they did the hour-long match, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they did that to give Ospreay something to accomplish here on this show. But
Yeah.
I think the match is going to be unbelievable. I think it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be an incredible match, and I got Ospreay winning this. And I think that when MJF came back this year, he kind of wanted to prove a point, because for some reason people just forget that he's a really, really, really good wrestler all the
Mm-hmm.
time because of the nature of his programs. And this year he was just like, you know what? I'm going to wrestle Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher and people like that and have killer matches. And
Yeah.
he's going to do it. It's going to be a great match.
I think it's a great thing for him. Like I personally prefer MJF in the ring. Like if I ever have a problem with like his character, his promos or whatever, like his matches I always really, really
Sure.
enjoy. Because people do forget that he's an actually really, really good wrestler. Do you have any prediction on the runtime for this? Since
I'm
we've
going to
seen them go an hour?
say I'm going to say 35 here. I'm going to say
Ooh,
35 or
okay.
40.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, 40. Maybe that's why Toni hasn't like insanely loaded up this card, because we're gonna get a really
Yeah.
long match here. Yeah.
Well, we had I think it was 11 matches total last year.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some that went like 8-7 minutes, stuff like that. Like the Stokely match doesn't got to be long, right? Like it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
that long. The Casino Gauntlet is probably going to be pretty long.
Mm-hmm.
Jericho and Hook could be 7-8 minutes. It could be a squash and people would be happy.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, seeing how many matches are on this card, I think it could be like 30-ish. 30-ish.
Yeah. Same. Okay, let's move on to our main event. We have Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson, AEW Championship, but it's not just for that, because it's title versus career. Sean, is this the last time that we'll see Bryan Danielson as a full-time wrestler? It's so like, it's not confusing, but it's not that straightforward. But Bryan Danielson, winning
I
or
have
losing?
I have Bryan Danielson winning, as does
Mm,
BetOnline.AG. It is the closest line right now, but I have Bryan Danielson winning. I think after that, he will probably go through Wrestle Dream and probably call it a career or call it a full-time career there. I think they'll
mhm.
want to sell a lot of tickets for that. You got
In
Darby,
Washington.
you got Darby, Swerve, and Danielson. I think Swerve will go on, work a little program with Hangman Page. But yeah, I think that Danielson's going to win this. I think it's going to be a classic. I think it's going to be very dramatic. I think it could hit match of the year territory, and that's saying something, because Will Ospreay just has matches every week that hit that territory, and with both of these guys as well. But I think that Danielson wins this.
Am I making this up? Because Darby has a title shot, right? Is that declared for Arthur Ashe?
I think it is declared for Arthur
Yeah.
Ashe, yes.
So who would you put Danielson against then in Chicago at All Out? Because obviously, if I was thinking that Swerve would retain, then I'd go Hangman. But is there anyone that you think would be a good fit there?
Luther.
Luther. I could
Luther.
see. I could see like if they're the Gauntlet match, we don't know who it's been. I could see maybe like the return of Moxley, and
That's
then
what I
him
want to see.
winning could make sense to go
That's
against Danielson. If
that is
Danielson is
a
like closing time, Moxley's a good opponent.
yeah, because if you can do Moxley, Danielson, Swerve, Hangman, Ricochet, Ospreay,
Hmm.
and then some other matches on All Out right after All In. I think that's how you can put asses in seats, because they
Yeah,
really got to put some asses in seats for that show.
for sure. I also have Danielson winning. I think they want basically like their version of Danielson's WrestleMania 30 moment. I think he'll win.
Me
It'll
too.
be a huge celebration. It'll be a great visual. You have Brie Bella, one of my favorites of all time, will be there. Brie Garcia, Birdie and maybe Buddy as well. Did you feel like everyone talks about Birdie and just neglects Buddy, and it's quite unfair?
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. He did
Yeah.
make the promise to Birdie, though. But
Mm,
what if his son is like, no, 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 no. I want you to keep wrestling. How does he weigh that?
yeah. I think, yeah, because I think for a lot of fans, like Birdie's a bit of a heel, just for wanting her dad to retire. And what if we have
Yeah,
Buddy as like the savior that's like there going like, go on, dad, yeah, keep wrestling forever. I
yeah.
think that'd be great. But yeah,
Here's a fun one. I interviewed Bryan Danielson the other day, and when he
mhm,
logged on to StreamYard, so I'll give you guys a little hint. So we have the option to show display names like this, right?
mhm.
His didn't show, but his display name was Brian Wankerson.
Wow.
And he said, apologies that my name is Brian Wankerson. I have not been on StreamYard in quite some time. And the PR guy was like, we can remove that, right? It's like, yeah, we
Oh my
can.
god.
No worries.
Wow. I wonder he was he last on StreamYard with. Wow.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I have Danielson winning, and I think they're gonna end on a happy moment. I mean, with big shows like this, like that's usually how you want to end, isn't it? Send everyone home happy. Um, Last year ended in like quite the celebration, and I think this year we're gonna have a big moment for Danielson, and he'll wrap up. He'll wrap up at a different time. And Swerve, Swerve losing. What would be your quick assessment of his reign if it's over on Sunday?
First off, he did wonderfully in what he was given.
Mhm.
He earned his way into that. He sort of
Yeah.
forced their hand. He
Mhm.
forced their hand and put them in a situation where they had to make him champion. Here's what I like about it. It gave you enough of an absence of Hangman to where you were excited for Hangman to come back, because his title reign happened during the absence of Hangman largely. He had an
Mhm.
all-time great match with Ospreay. An
Yeah.
amazing match. Had a really good world title match with Roderick Strong. He had an excellent title match against Christian Cage as well. Like, there were a lot of people that said, "Oh well, he's not main eventing pay-per-views, all that stuff." Well, guess what? He did and had an all-timer of a match, just an incredible one. So I
Mhm.
think that he's done really well. I think they could have probably squeezed in another world title match there. I think
Yeah.
he beat Claudio as well. I feel like after the Osprey one, they could have fit in another world title match like in July at some point, but he did have blood and guts to go through. I would say a good one, but if they would have worked in one more like really, really big title match there, I would have said great.
Yeah, I would give it a B grade, but put it in the higher end of AEW title reigns. I think you're right that he like forced himself into the role. I think, with his work and everything, getting himself to that point with the Hangman feud where the crowd were on his side and everyone knew that he was the guy. And then I think when he got given the belt, he wanted to work more to prove to everyone that he not only deserved it but could carry it. I think he has fought really hard for himself and his placement on Dynamite and the feuds that he's doing, just to because sometimes the AEW champion like isn't exactly the guy. They've had that problem where they like focus on other people. And I think Swerve has really tried to um like plant himself as the main person in
Yeah.
AEW. And that's been kind of difficult for him with like Will Ospreay coming in and everyone going so wild for him, MJF returning, stuff like that. But I think he's done like a really incredible job. And I think his next title reign will be even better. And the crowd will want it for him even more. So I think
Yep.
and I don't see him dropping down to like mid card or anything like that when this is over. I think he's really shown himself to be one of the top like 3 guys in AEW. And
Yep.
yeah,
I agree.
it's been awesome. Well, Sean, thank you so much for joining me. It's been really fun to get to talk to you about this. Did you have fun, Sean?
Yeah, we taught a lot of people about bread, which is the most important part about
Yes.
all this. Like right now, I bet Kojima is watching this and he's like,
He
oh,
loves bread.
greatest prediction show ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope that you being on it means that like really important people watch it, and then maybe they could do my Sting Snow White idea.
Yeah.
That would be great. I don't want any money or credit. I just want it to happen. But yeah, it's been really nice having you, Sean. I'm sure you've got plenty of work to do with those dynamite
I
scoops coming
do.
up. You
Dynamite
do?
scoops. We have The Hump coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to
Ooh,
talk WBD AEW stuff. I've got an interview with Nick Nemeth at 4 that will drop probably maybe this week, next week. Haven't decided yet. But then tonight, I am back here for the AEW Dynamite post show.
awesome. Well, guys, if you want to check out more of me, you can find me on YouTube at Stephanie Chase Wrestling. I just dropped a couple of days ago an interview with Jade Cargill. Up next, I have an interview with Hyan coming tomorrow, who you've
She's
seen
great.
recently on Ring of Honor. One of the nicest people I've met during my time in wrestling. So I can't wait to get that out for you guys. Thank you again to our sponsor, BetOnline.AG. Remember to go there to place your bets. We've given you some hints and tips there and a bit of a lowdown, so you can use that. And once again, thank you, Sean. I hope I passed my evaluation.
You did good. You solid. You know what?
Good. Solid.
A
That's
stay of
bad.
execution, we would call it.
Wow. I think I might get futured endeavored.
Oh my God. No, we would be completely disrespectful. We would be like, we wish her the illest of intent in her future endeavors, which I guess is still future endeavored. If I wished you the worst in your future endeavor, that still counts, right? So
Yeah. You know what? I would be like, that Sean Ross Sapp, he always hated me, but
I didn't bring my
Rob,
Dominic
he
vest.
loved me. No, but I think you did a pretty good job in that role, to be honest. You were a good guest. I honestly thought you were going to be like an asshole backseat driver, but I'm really happy.
Okay. All right then. I'll remember that.
I'm only joking. I'm only joking. Thanks again, Sean. Lots of love. I'm sad that I won't be seeing you at All In, but
Likewise.
maybe sometime in person soon. Who knows?
Indeed.
Okay, and thank you guys once again, everyone. Enjoy All In, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.